Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. So happy you are here. My goal with this channel is to bring inspirational speakers to the mic in the field of yoga, massage, bodywork, and beyond. Follow us at Native Yoga and check us out at nativeyogacenter.com. All right, let's begin. Hello, welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. Oh man, wait till you hear this one. Oh, wow. All right, this is Gerald Saluti. Please go back and listen to episode 100. I interviewed Jerry's wife, Unbreakable Saluti. I was like blown away with her story. Like, it's really powerful. And then I just meet Jerry and speak with him, and he just knocked my socks off. So find him on Instagram. I'll have the link in the store in the description. And also he has a website, salutihealthwellness.com. That's in the description. Click it. And wow, I'm not even going to talk anything about what we're about to talk about, so you can just, hear it all for yourself. Let's jump in. Thank you. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to meet Gerald Saluti. Jerry, it's really an honor to have you here on the show today because about 3 years ago, I was able to interview your wife, Unbreakable Saluti, for episode number 100. And I believe you're going to be coming in here at episode number 257. So about 157 episodes ago. And so I'm excited to finally have a chance to meet you. I've had other people that come here and practice talk very highly about you. And I am honored to have this opportunity. Can you tell me how you're feeling today?
Sure. I feel like myself again after a significant problem medically last year in 2025. Tomorrow is actually the 1-year anniversary of me going into the hospital.
Wow.
So I'm pretty excited to be able to get out of bed in the morning, do my yoga practice, get into my ice barrel, and just get back to work and just get back to being a dad and a husband and all that.
Oh, wow.
A lot. It's been a lot.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I know Unbreakable's been through a fair amount of health challenges that she spoke openly about during our session. And I'm curious, are you open to talking about what actually happened to you a year ago?
Of course. And it's interesting you bring up Unbreakable because my whole life, with her, and it's basically all I can remember at this point is life with her, has been as a caregiver, not someone getting care at all. For those of you who don't know my wife, her name is Unbreakable, and she's had significant medical struggles over the course of our marriage. I think we're married this year 24 years, and we had, I like to tell people, 2 great weeks of marriage, which we did. And as soon as we got back from our honeymoon, the poor thing got a colon rectal tumor. I can say today, I think as of today, it's been 30 surgeries over the 20-something years of our marriage. And I went into the hospital last year, really as a caregiver. That's the truth. And there is such a new perspective for the strength that my wife has as a patient now that I've been a patient like I was.
Wow.
And I think there's a great deal of respect on her end at this point for what kind of care, what it means to be a caregiver. She ran my whole family while I was in the hospital. I don't know how this woman did it. She's an amazing human being. And one of the only reasons I'm talking to you is because of the support system that I had. So I'm going to tell you this, and I'll say it over and over during the course of your podcast or the book that I'm writing or anyone that talks to me. I'm nobody special. I'm someone who's been placed into some very special circumstances a bunch of different times in my life, some of which were my fault. This one wasn't. I've made plenty of problems for myself. This was not one of them. And the perspective that you gain from seeing both angles of it has made me a better caregiver in my job that I do every day. And it's really, truly given me a new respect for what it means to be in that bed. And that's where you find us as we're kind of talking through what the rest of our life might look like. It's different than it was for sure going into the hospital. And I like to think before that I was a pretty mellow dude, but and someone who really appreciated his life, but I really had no idea. And I don't think anybody does that's not faced with true, like a traumatic experience like that. It really shakes to the forefront what's important in your life. And
Wow.
it's a lot of the things you think are, and we say they are, family, friends, love. Um, but at the same time, your head's thinking about business. Who am I calling today? What am I doing? Who are we eating? Look at the prices. And this is where we lose ourselves in this process. And in being sick, Tom, I found myself by pieces of me being taken away. So as you stand here today, looking at me, I'm 150 pounds. Um, Before I went into the hospital, I was 150 pounds, and I was under 10% body fat. I was a freak for taking care of myself, yoga every day, rock climbing, you name it, biking. And by the time I came out of the hospital, I was 110 pounds. So I
Wow.
lost 40 pounds of muscle.
Ooh.
And the physical, looking at yourself physically, you don't recognize yourself. And then spiritually, you've taken away all the impediments to connecting with God or the universe, however you want to term whatever you might believe the higher power is. You've taken your ego out of the way, even because all there is survival. And I can tell you that since I've been home, I have been every day managing that process of not allowing things to get in the way of this connection that we all have. Like I said, I'm not special.
Mm.
We all have this. I was simply removed from the equation for enough that I could see and feel different. And there's some radical things that have happened in the hospital and since I've left the hospital that are just proof of that, and I can talk about those if you'd like to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear it. It's fascinating because when I got a chance to listen to Yuladi and how she had gone through, like you said, so many operations, and then when I met her, she was getting ready to run a marathon, and it was almost like a miracle that she was able to achieve that level of fitness after having gone through such incredible challenge. And so to hear you now express a very similar sort of comeback and your perspective is just fascinating. I suppose because the two of you, like, isn't it just amazing that the two of you are together and that you have
It's,
such an interesting kind of correlation of paths that are like
it's,
going into these sort of life-threatening scenarios, you supporting
yeah,
her and then you having a life-threatening scenario and her supporting you and the what how you guys are coming back and just really grabbing life by the horns. I mean, there's something special here. So I would love to hear more. I want to dig in a little bit and find out what sort of insights you've had. So,
I,
where do we
I think
begin?
if you wrote a book, I wrote a book. My book is a memoir, and it's a manuscript for living without the mistakes that I made, hopefully. But if you wrote our story, if you turned a movie on, you were like, hey, I'm going to watch a movie on Netflix. Oh, it's about this woman who has like 30 surgeries and becomes a world record holder for a marathon with someone with a disability. And then her husband took care of her all these years, never left her. And then he got sick, and you wouldn't want to even see it. You're like, that can't happen. That can't happen.
I
I'm
would,
like, yes,
you,
yes, it can. It did. It did happen.
do you ever
Um,
have that reaction when people ask you about your life that there's so much to tell that maybe not that you want to, not that I would ever say you don't want to know about my life because it's so much, like it would put so much on your plate. Now I'm just curious how you answer that question because
it,
when people are just like you said in maintenance mode and operational mode and kind of forgetting how precious life is, that to talk about some of these more real down to earth experiences, it can seem heavy to the outside
I,
eye.
I'm usually looking for how long do you have?
Yeah, yeah,
I have a
yeah.
30-second pitch, elevator pitch. I have if you want me to really go from beginning to end, it's probably 3 hours of discussion. But and I take the person where I find them as well. So
Mm,
I walk into I'm a marketer right now, and I go into a building and I do marketing. I sell like skilled nursing and home care. So it's like grandma's home, Alzheimer's, perfect. I get the aid to go into the house. And if I yesterday I went to a marketing event, I met a bunch of people and 30 or 40 people in a room, and you go around and say hello and what are you doing? What are you doing? Great. And then they're like, all right, everyone has 2 minutes to introduce themselves. There's where the question comes, right? Who are you? And this is a question I struggled with my whole life. And I think it's a cool, great question. So I appreciate you asking it. This is the experience that I used to have when I was a lawyer. I don't know if you know that. I was a criminal defense lawyer for 20 something years.
John mentioned that, but I don't know if the gravity of it all, it'll settle in more now as we keep going. Thank you.
I failed out of that at some point. It is the worst job you could ever even imagine. I don't even know how to say it other than that, criminal defense. But you do learn resilience, right? So here I am, and I'm a criminal lawyer. I marry this woman, and she gets sick. And now my whole life is taking care of her, and I'm not taking care of my law practice. I hired a guy. His name was Gabriel, and why were we talking about law? It was a question. I'm so sorry if I'm not
Oh,
answering
no,
the
you're
right
fine.
question.
I guess because I was wondering, like, when you have a big story and a story that
Yeah.
has a lot of maybe there's some
Oh,
shadows
I
and
remember what I was saying.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like yesterday, I didn't get up and you get 2 minutes to speak. This woman got up in front of me and she's like, "I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a published author times five," and it was like wildly amazing, right? And
Yeah.
then I got up, and if she thinks she's a professional speaker, I'm literally, that's all I do. It's all I love. I want to do it. Teacher, speaker. If I get up, and it's the kind of room where you can kind of rip it a little bit, like tell the story. And there's a purpose to it for me there, right? I'm in a marketing meeting. I want people to like me. So I kick it out pretty good. I'm like, hey, I was married to this beautiful woman. 2 weeks into it, she gets sick, and I can get it down to a minute or two. But this is what I was going to say to you. When I was a criminal lawyer, one of the things that got me to the doctor, like I was getting physically sick. That's how I found yoga. They told me to do yoga. I would look in the mirror and I would have no clue who was staring back at me. Like literally, I'm
Mm,
looking all the way through the person. And
mm,
I had that experience in my life many, many times getting, growing up and never knew what it was. And now having been sick like that, to your point, if you ask me who I am, I'm a husband and a father. That's who I am. You ask me my story, I'm a dad and I'm a husband. That's it. I'm a great son to my parents. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a yoga teacher. I'm not, I have nothing special in me that's not in you. How about that? I'll say it to you that way. There's
yeah.
nothing special
Yeah.
in me that's not in everyone.
Yeah.
We are just in our own ways. And the more I try to figure out my identity, well, who am I? What is my purpose? What is my why of living my life? That changed drastically in the hospital for me. And like I said, I thought I was on a very good path. I, I've had problems in my past. I've had all those issues. I got convicted of a crime. Everything in my life has been a hurdle. I'm a 23 years sober alcoholic. Very proud of that. But each of these things that's happened to me in my life, I used them all in the hospital. So I used some of
Mm,
the tenets of AA to survive. I used some of the stuff I learned from losing my law license to survive. So, you look back at your life and you say, it wasn't a failure. It's who I am. This is
yeah.
exactly who I am.
Yeah.
Someone that can recover from anything, a hopeless mind, hopeless state of mind, body, and spirit, and alcoholism, or losing my law license and having to change my life in a different way. Those are problems I made, right? I made the law problem for myself. I was kind and I gave a guy a job who was a ex-con. And when Yolati got breast cancer, my wife, I missed like 100 days that year because this is like life and death stuff. And and sure enough, he went into my trust account, was writing checks to people, and we all lost our license, me, my partner. And
Wow.
this was just an act of kindness I had done for this
Yeah.
individual. Like
Yeah.
he was in
Yeah.
jail
Wow.
and he asked me for a job so he could have parole and come out, and I gave it to him. And I did this all the time when I was a criminal lawyer. I probably gave 10 different kids jobs because they couldn't get jobs. Um, and I write a chapter in my book. It's called Archangel Gabriel versus Paulie the Apostle. And it talks about me extending kindness to this guy Gabriel. Um, and he screwed me around and got me in deep trouble, but also got me away from the law, studying yoga. I'm who I am because of that guy. I love that
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then I gave a similar opportunity to another guy from jail. His name is Paul, and he became a lawyer. Like, so, the kindness was no different. My intention was no different with either. They both returned the kindness to me differently, though. I didn't know Gabriel was doing me a kindness. You could feel Paul's, like he's very thankful that I gave him a job, that I helped him go through school. But at the end of the day, I say in my book, actually, I say, kindness to me is like a bank, like a spiritual bank. You put money into it all the time, and this is how karma works. It's not like, hey, I'm gonna, do something nice for, like the lady yesterday. I carried a box in for her. That doesn't mean like I'm gonna get less off on my FedEx bill because I carried the lady's box. But you know what? When I was bankrupt in the hospital and I needed to go to the ATM and get some spirituality, it was there. I had a bank full of this from
Yes.
a lifetime of
Yes.
building towards it,
Yes. Yes.
um, and that's kind of the thought process that we use when I went to the hospital, because I'd watch Pilates. There's nobody better than my wife at this. There's just impossible. She's an incredibly strong woman.
Yes.
So what am I going to complain that I'm in the hospital? I can't. You can't even feel bad for yourself. You're like it's nothing for her, and but it was a lot for all of us. It was
Were
incredible.
were you, thank you so much for sharing all that. There's so much interesting information there. Were you conscious for the duration of the time you're in the hospital, or did you go into some sort of coma state that you then woke up
So
out of and had people around you to kind of bring you back? How did that play out?
that was actually like a choice that we made. So I went into the hospital on January 22nd. Tomorrow will be a year. And I had the flu. I was the last one in the house to get it. And I took the least care of myself because I was taking care of Yolati and the kids. Um, Eventually, at some point, I got so bad that she sent me to the doctor. And within 4 hours, he sent me directly to the hospital. Within 4 hours, I went from being in the ICU to being placed on a board and dragged immediately up to the ICU. And that's the first time I passed like four different times in the hospital over to the other side. And we can
Mm.
talk about that. It was a really interesting experience. But the first time I'm 4 hours in the hospital, I'm already dead. I already died once. I'm septic, which is a terrible thing to be. So all my organs are shutting down. And they said if I had waited one more day, I would have died in the bed at home. So I
Oh my,
really waited too long.
from the flu?
Um,
From the flu?
yeah, well, here's the thing. The flu, I waited so long that I got septic, but my organs got infected. So I
Wow.
started this infection and all of my organs are all shutting. And like, but for
How
the
I'm
grace of God goes I, like, if I wasn't in that kind of shape, if I
Hmm.
didn't have, like, this is crazy, but I never knew why I was driven to do all these things to my body. Why? One time I held my breath for 12 minutes. Like, I trained to do that. I train every day in a barrel full of ice. Never knew what was the compulsion to do it. And meanwhile, everything I use, like all of the things I learned, I used every one every day.
Wow.
And, it's one of those things where, so I went from the flu real quick, septic, I'm in ICU. They flood you with steroids, which takes your immune system away, which leads to bilateral pneumonia. So I have pneumonia in both lungs. That's not a bilateral pneumonia. Bilateral means you have a viral and a bacterial pneumonia. So I had both kinds. And I'm not responding to, unfortunately, I'm not responding well to the antibiotics. They flush you with all that too. And this is where the choice came on being uh, conscious or unconscious. We decided I wouldn't be intubated because we had seen so many people like pass away over COVID from that. It was very frightening. And my wife was like, he is a very strong guy and he's been training for this. And what I mean by that is I'm a functional breath coach and I teach a lot of pro athletes and athletes. One of the things I teach them is how to train at sea level for high altitude. And it has to do with a lot of breath holding and becoming very, they call it hypoxic, where there's a lot of CO2 in your blood. So when I had been training like this for years, so I go into the hospital and they take my pulse ox and it's 69 years, it's like 69. You can't have a pulse ox 69 and be okay. And for a month or so, that's where my pulse ox stayed. They put a BiPAP machine on me. It's a machine they put on your face 12 hours at a time, and it forces air in and out, forces air in and out without the tube. That caused a hole in my left lung because it was forcing air, and a hole in my right lung. And just as I'm getting better, start to get better for a second, um, an infection goes into the hole that's in my lung, and it starts to get bigger. They don't really know this at first. And that's the second time I passed away. I got so sick from the infection. And it turned out the infection was something called aspergillus. It's a fungal infection that I got from the hospital. I didn't even like this is not something you're supposed to get. And so that's what almost killed me the second time was aspergillus. And very interesting experience with death. And I'll talk about that more in a second. But the process was as I got sicker like that second time, and I they had to put the board under me and the lights, you could just it was crazy. Um, there's nothing but survival. That's all you no longer there's nothing in the way of you feeling the connection to the world, to everyone, to the universe. And when I tell people about the second time I passed away, it was very different than the first time. um the first time I passed in the hospital, the sensation was not one of like running to the light. I didn't have that kind of experience like you read about. I had an experience of what I would call dispersion, where I'm laying on the gurney and they're trying to get me up to the ICU, and the ceiling tiles are going by, and then they just weren't anymore. But my eyes were still open, and I started to separate from myself at like not in a very organized way. So my atoms just started to separate, and I felt myself going into everything, becoming a part of all of everything, part of you, a part. I tell people this: you're whoever you think you died, and you're sad, and you hope that they're okay. They are. I promise you. I felt it. You can never feel this kind of kindness and love at the same time. And I had a word, and it's funny. I forgot. You forget so much when you're that sick. You can't remember your name, and I had some issues. And this word loving kindness popped into my. That's the only way I could describe it to people. And then it turns out that's meta. There's a word for that, and I'm not the first person to experience it clearly. And I came to the same words without ever having remembered that I read that. I'm sure I had. But that was the second experience. The first experience was the first experience was dispersion. The second experience, very similar. Here I go, and I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I'm going to disperse. This is it. And then it's interesting. After 3 weeks or so, the first time I died, I was in there 4 hours. I don't even think my wife knew where I was. I just like ran to the hospital, and God brought me back. And for lack of a better word, God. The second time, she had already put out onto social media, and then our friends, everyone knew I was sick. Everyone, Buddhists, Jewish people, Catholics, you name it. I have friends from all the walks of life. And sure enough, they're all praying for me. The second time I passed, you can feel everyone's hands like pushing you back into your body. And I felt individual people. It was wild. And
like
when
you saw a vision of them or felt their energy, or you could
you
feel, you just
you could
knew it was
literally
them.
feel their hands. I could see whose hands they were, and I felt them holding me, like not
Wow.
letting anything disperse from me. It
Whoa.
was very cool, very cool.
Wow.
And it happened a few more times as I went along. I got sick two more times, like close death twice, and each time I understood it better. I was never afraid of death. I even going in, I wasn't afraid of death. I was just angry that Lottie was going to be alone and my kids, no dad. But
Yes.
this is like it's so much better than I can explain. I don't know how to put it into words.
Well, I mean,
I don't.
that's enlightening because a lot of us are so scared. We're so scared about what that's going to be like. We're real scared that it's going to be really painful. We don't know how we're going to react to that intense level of pain at the time. But you're kind of reassuring me and us listening, you listening, that we don't have to be scared.
I used two mantras when I was in the hospital very effectively. To your point, my first mantra when I was dying, and this is the first mantra, it's something I teach, was the words "not yet." I say this to my kids constantly and my students constantly. So I'm teaching handstand, and I show them how to press up into a handstand, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'll never be able to do that." And I say, "Not yet." Hey, Dad, I can't get this math problem. Not yet. You
Yes.
know, um,
Yes.
and that doesn't mean that you're going to get it tomorrow. It means with a little bit of, a little bit of work every day, building a little at a time, we'll eventually get to where we need to go, period. And I used that very effectively when they said, hey, um, you're only gonna have 60% of your lung capacity. I said, all right, well, he said at one point I had 33. I said, nah, you'll never be right. Not yet. Kept saying not yet, not yet. And then I had a very negative experience with one of the doctors in the hospital. And I'll tell you about it. It was interesting. And this is where the second mantra took over. And that mantra is unbreakable. And I heard that. I didn't start those words. I heard them. They came from somewhere. Um, And the word unbreakable became the mantra that I got out of the hospital with. Because a point came in the hospital, I'm as sick as you could be. Okay, I weigh 100 pounds, and when I tell you, you cannot possibly explain the kind of pain it is. It's it feels like you're getting waterboarded because you can't breathe. Even with the machine, you're not breathing, so you don't have air for months. Your heart's beating 120 beats a minute for a month. It's actually 2 months for me, and
Oh,
it
oh.
is it's
So,
an
so
insane
like
physical problem. Like,
you're being kept alive, but it doesn't feel like you're breathing. The air is being pushed and pulled out, but you don't actually have the
like
satisfaction of what a regular breath feels like.
Oh God, no, God, no. And this is where the problem comes in. Let's say the BiPAP machine breathes for you 25 times a minute. I'm a yogi. I breathe 15 times a minute, and it's all
It
discombobulated, and that's what
feels
it's forcing air and breaking it open
ooh,
my lung.
ooh,
Um, but yeah,
wow.
it's this wild.
Huh.
You're overcoming so much pain. Like, pain becomes one of those things where, like, they come down one day and they say, "Hey, we have to draw some. We're going to try to draw some fluid between in your pleural space between your rib bones and the outside of your lungs." So I said, "Oh, sure." They drag me down on a
Yeah.
gurney somewhere. No, really, at that point, you haven't slept in months, and
Mm,
you've been pin cushioned like thousands of times. I can't even explain to you how many things they put inside me, and there's no dignity. I think I showered twice in 68 days. I was showered twice. There's
holy
no
cow,
dignity in it
Jared.
at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you feel that kind of significant pain, you just become numb to it. I was using a meditation app called Waking Up, and it's a guy by the name of Sam Harris, who I have very deep respect for.
I'm
And
familiar.
for his meditation techniques, I don't know about his politics. I don't care. He's a great meditation teacher. And I used the app. I said to Yolati when I went in, I'm like, listen, babe, I'm going to be here a couple of days. Don't worry about it. I don't want to take my phone. I don't want to be scrolling my phone. I just want to use the time. I'll meditate. It'll be perfect. I've been in this big meditation phase anyway, so it came at a great time. I meditated for 40 days and 40 nights before I touched my phone. And it was in that 40 days that everything was revealed to me. I was taken away, and it was revealed to me who I was, how I connected with all of you. And there's so much joy in it to understand your place, to understand the function. Um, it's very satisfying. It's scary, you know, but it's very satisfying to know that everything's going to be okay. Whether it's a thought that we have, and this meditation app is all about the non-duality of consciousness. And it was really important because when you're in that much pain, it's do you meditate?
I
Do you ever
do.
meditate?
I do.
All right. So you go to meditate, right? And we sit down, oh yeah, whatever. And all of a sudden we get an itch on our nose, right? And all you want to do is go like this and scratch it. And instead, Harris would say to you, it's truly simply an appearance in consciousness, much like the next sound you're going to hear, much like the next color you're going to see. And if you can learn to treat everything like that, you'll see that pain and pleasure are really on kind of the same thing. And that's the point I got to. So they bring me downstairs, and the guy sits me and lays me down on my belly, and he says, "Hey, I'm going to put this big needle in you." And when I say big needle, I'm not joking. It was like, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to put this big needle in you." And you're just like this, okay, go ahead. And he's like, "Do you want me to put any like anesthesia around it?" I'm like, "No, no, no. You're going to put me out?" "No, don't worry about it." And they proceeded to drain like a liter and a half of fluid out of me through this huge needle. And you're just like, whatever, send me back to my room. It's like, you're just so lost to it. I promise you.
So
Um,
you're sitting in the pain for so long that any pain was just irrelevant at that point because you had just traversed pain after pain after pain. And when you
yeah.
said this is really scary, is that what you're referring to? That moment of how am I going to get over this? Then getting through it and then having another wave. How am I going to get over this? Getting through it. So what, going through
So,
so many waves that there's
so
no
like,
more
think
waves
about,
anymore?
here I am, an alcoholic, staying sober one day at a time. You're going to bring that back to even in being this kind of sober. I mean, hospital, you're talking about one breath at a time. There was days when I had to
Whoa.
worry about
Yeah.
each breath that I took one at a time.
Ugh.
And then there's this force field that I had built up towards pain by, I've been in, I follow this guy, Wim Hof. And I don't know if you know who Wim
I
is.
do.
Great, cool guy. And I've been doing his technique for years. I'm a big proponent of his breath work. I've studied all different types of breath work, and his, I happen to love his. It's just fun to do. I don't know how effective it is. It's super fun to do. But I learned to be in pain in that ice barrel. And I remember when I first learned about the guy, his world record that he held was like an hour and 2 minutes. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to do that. There's no reason I can't do that. So I started 1 minute, 2 minutes. I got up to like 45 minutes. And then some other guy broke the record, it was like 4 hours now. I'm like, all right.
I draw
I'm
the
like,
line. Yeah.
I'm not doing that. But
Yeah.
it's so painful to sit for that long in ice or whatever. So here you are, you're facing something hard to do, but you've already made yourself do hard things over and over again in your life. So is it really that hard to just take one more breath and be okay? Is it really that hard to live one day not worrying about tomorrow? And that's really what you learn in the hospital. We worry, like we live in the past and the future. None of us are present enough. And I can say that for myself for sure. Looking around society now, oh my God, we're in deep shit. And all those lessons, this is what my book is about. This is what my life is about. Everything is not for, there's a reason for everything. And I find my story is not unique. I'm sure yours is the same. I'm sure there's been opportunities in your life where you've had to let go, you've had to give in, you've had to surrender, you've had to overcome. And the unbreakable line that we were talking about came to me like this. So I'm as sick as a dog. I've died twice now, and I'm literally on the point where they can't figure out why, because they don't realize that I have a fungal infection yet. It's just, I can't figure it out. He doesn't have COVID, is the flu, what's going on? And yet here he is, like he's going to die from this. So I'm sitting in my room in the ICU, and my mom is there with me. And a young man came in, and this happened all the time. And he said, "Hey, Mr. Saluti," didn't have a doctor stuff on. He said, "Hey, Mr. Saluti, would you mind if we tested your blood? We're going to test you for AIDS, because we just can't figure out what's wrong with you." I said, "No, don't worry about it." I thought he was like a tech. So about a half a minute later, in walks a lady, takes my blood, off they go. Me and my mother keep talking because I don't have AIDS. Like, with all things, right? So
like I've done other things, but that's just one I haven't had.
That's not
That's
my
one thing I've had to
lifestyle.
conquer yet. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So anyway, about, I don't know, 6 hours, a couple hours later, 6 hours later, my mom's getting ready to leave, and the guy and a lady walks in with a white coat. This is a doctor, stethoscope, and she's got the other doctors behind her. So I never was happy when I saw a white coat. That always meant like chief of this or chief of that. So I don't ask any questions. She walks in, she has a little bit of an accent, and she says, Eastern European. I can barely understand some of it. She says, "Mr. Saluti, I have some news to talk to you about, and I think it's best if we talk alone." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's my mom. Just what's going on?" Because that's not the lady that took my blood or anything like that. I'm not even thinking about AIDS. Like it was literally like, yeah, whatever, like never thought about it again. So she says, "All right, well, um, we got your, looks like your blood work. I saw your blood work. And I want to let you know we think you have AIDS, or we know you have AIDS. You have AIDS." I didn't hear another word she said after that. It was like getting sucker punched
Just
by
gut
Michael Tyson
punched.
in the gut, right? So, yeah, and at that point, for a second or two, I just gave up. I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to see my granddaughter ever again. I'm not going to be able to hold her." Your brain goes to all these crazy places. And it was by far the single worst moment of my life, because that's it. You're like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
you're done. You're done, because you got no fight in you at that point. You've been
yeah,
there 30, 40 days.
yeah,
You haven't slept. I
yeah.
got delirious from being in there. It's crazy. I don't wish it on anybody. And so my mother starts to cry. I'm having to console my mom. And the lady says to us, "Why don't you call your wife?" And so I did. I called Yolati, and my mom called my dad, and they come rushing over. We didn't tell them what the news was, because we wanted to get in an accident or anything. And they get to the hospital, and we cry, all of us, for another 3 hours. And by the end of all that, I was like, all right, I'm going. Like, I'm not going to die. Screw that. It's interesting. The whole time I heard in the back of my head, "Unbreakable, unbreakable." Not my words, "Unbreakable." And in fact, it was like I couldn't get it out of my head. Okay. but I didn't say it to my wife or my mom or anyone. I just kept hearing it. And the lady leaves, and we're resigned to the idea that life's going to be different, but we're still going to have a life. If it's 2 weeks, if it's a month, I don't give a shit. We're going to get everything we can out of this, and we're going to take whatever drugs we need to take, whatever they say. So we make this decision, and in walks the same guy that asked me in the first place, all by himself again, no papers, no nothing. And he's like, "Hey, Mr. Saluti, I have good news and bad news." And we look at him, we're like, what did I have cancer on top of that? How much worse can it get? Like, there's no worse. Like, that's what I said. There's like no worse than news. Like, what are you gonna do? He goes, "Well, you don't have AIDS. We got your blood work back." And I didn't hear anything after that.
What?
Now,
it's like
now
I feel like I'm in the Matrix or something.
Jumped off the bed. I promise you, I almost jumped up and down the bed. That's how happy I was. I was so fucking happy that the words came out of my mouth. And my answer to the guy when he said, "Mr. Saluti, I have good news and bad news." That's what he said. She says, "The good news is you don't have AIDS." And I'm like, holy shit. And then I'm so excited. And he says, "The bad news is we still don't know what's wrong with you." They had still not had the culture grown out enough to know it was a fungal infection. We still don't know what's wrong with you. And I said, my answer to him was, "I'm unbreakable." And it came out of my mouth. I don't know how it got said. And that's the first time the mantra came out. And every minute of every day after that, until I got out of the hospital, I promise you those words were used, popped into my head, but it's exactly how I felt. And I knew right then and there that I was not going to die from this at all, no matter how sick I got, that my life's purpose was revealed to me, that I am a messenger for all this stuff that I know to give to other people. I didn't realize I was a healer as well at that point. I didn't realize it. I had an experience with that when I got out. And I didn't realize I was going to be able to, my intuition would be so highly tuned. And this is when I say I am no different than you. We all, I believe, have the power that I now have. But until you're put into a very, very special circumstance, how are you to like separate yourself from yourself enough to feel what I feel so you can have that result? And that's kind of what I wanted to show my children, that I just wasn't able to while I was that sick, you know?
Wow.
And I don't want any of the message to get lost if I get lost.
Yes. Wow. Holy cow.
So I wrote a chapter. I said the best and worst day of my life. That's the name of the chapter. About being unbreakable.
Yeah.
And I was put onto a blood thinner because the third time I died, I had a clot in my leg. The clot, we didn't know. The clot went from my leg up into my.
So now this is all. Now what you're about to tell me, this is all coming after this whole AIDS, no AIDS, unbreakable mantra moment.
Yeah.
This is still after two experiences.
They still don't know what's wrong with me. Yeah, they still don't know what's even wrong with me. And I just kept getting sicker. And I finally got so sick that I crossed over one more time before I got my operation. And so they consider the first procedure is when they take the fluid out of my back. The second procedure, they had grown out the culture. This is like 3 or 4 days after the AIDS. And they come in and they say, "Hey, good news. We know you have aspergillus. So you have this fungal infection." That's the good news. The bad news is it doesn't react very well to antibiotics. It's really hard to kill it. And it's in your left lung. We're going to have to do surgery. Can you sleep on your right side so that it doesn't leak from the left lung into the hole in the right lung?
Whoa.
And I'm like, this is the science of where we are in medical practice right now, that you're asking me to sleep on one side, not the other. Like, this is where we are. And it was my dad. I've never seen my dad cry, but I was so sick and he was so convinced. This was on a Wednesday. I didn't get surgery till Monday. He was convinced I was going to drop dead in between the two. And I sure passed very close to it during that Saturday or something like that. And the surgeon, his name was Scalia, Dr. Scalia, great guy. He says, on Wednesday, he's like, "Look, you're going to die. You very well may die, and not because you're too sick to go under, can't get anesthesia. But if we don't go in and try to get rid of the fungal infection, you are 100% going to die, because the antibiotics are working like this and the fungal infection's going up like this, and you're done. So what do you want to do?" I said, "Sure, let's go for it. We can't." And he says, "All right, we can't do it till Monday. My father started to cry. And I was like, but here's the thing. I was unbreakable at that point in time. I was like, all right, whatever. I'll wait till Friday. Sleep on my right side. I'll sleep on my right side. You tell me what to do. I'm going to fucking do it. I've
You were
watched my wife do this
so
how many fucking
convinced
times, you know?
yeah, so feeling it like it's not coming from an intellectual idea. Your core was saying
I know it.
unbreakable. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, okay,
100%.
make it as challenging as you want because I can't. Yeah. Wow.
I just beat AIDS in like 17 in an 8-hour span. I had AIDS and didn't have AIDS. How much better can I do than that? I was unbreakable at that point. So I go to face the surgery, and I told you, the third time I started to lift and separate from myself on the hospital bed. My dad was there, and it was like it didn't even get away from myself. I was like, everyone wanted me to be alive. Like there was no chance I was going to separate. And I made it through the surgery. It was about 5 hours. I come out, tell me they've taken out about a third of my left lung, which that's not good. And they were able to actually scrape out all the fungal infection. Can I tell you, I never coughed up anything dark again. So the infection was gone from the minute I got out of the surgery. You could feel it.
Wow.
And I came out with 2, what they call chest tubes sticking out of my back. And I don't mean like, it's not the size of a straw. I'm talking about the really big gauge tube. The pain was unbearable. Anytime you knocked into something, there's tons of in between your ribs, there's a lot of nerve endings and stuff. And they had to crack my ribs. In they go, pull out a hunk of my lung. And the doctor says to me, Scalia, he goes, Mr. Saluti, he goes, Jerry, are you a alto or a soprano? And I'm like, I go, why? And he says, well, I'm going to pull those things out as soon as you stop bleeding, and you're going to scream, and we're going to see which one you are. And I was like, oh, this is
not good.
No bueno. No good. As I tell my kids.
That's not a good bedside story.
But that's you know what? It's funny because he was very arrogant and awesomely nice all at once. Yeah. So we had a repartee like that. And that's just how we started to make fun of each other. I'm like, no, not going to happen. Yeah. And mind you, now I've meditated now for 40 days. So I can simply drop into meditation. You cut my foot off and I'm not going to know. Like you can literally cut my foot off at that point. So when he came in and it comes in on the Saturday morning and he rolls me over to my side, and he did that every day to check and see if I was okay. And this day I could feel him untaping some stuff. So I kind of knew he was going to pull the tubes out. So I started to meditate right away. And not only didn't I make a noise, I didn't move. He's like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen someone,
not even flinch, not even
disappear. Like, where'd you go? Like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And so we started to talk a little bit about it. And he was very interested in me talking to other patients about how I managed my pain process versus, ringing the bell and asking for morphine. That just numbs what's going to still be there when you're done anyway.
And so then I'm gathering, based off of your history with addiction, you were choosing to not utilize any painkillers through this entire process?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I really hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I just wanted to take a moment to announce a course that I'm really excited to release. It's a free course, and it's called 8 in 8, Learn 8-Limb Yoga in 8 days. My goal is to help coach you along in the Ashtanga yoga practice in a way where we take just the sun salutations, the fundamental asanas, and the final breathing poses, break it down with some philosophy videos as well, explaining the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga in a very easy to use, friendly course that is totally free. Click the link below, check it out. Let me know what you think. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Well, in the beginning, they didn't give you a choice.
There was no,
you're so close to death.
Yeah.
But as soon as I had a choice, I didn't take anything.
Whoa.
Like the minute I could not, the minute it was on me, then I'm not.
Wow.
And there were some days you had to take it. There were some days, listen, it was so bad you couldn't sleep or whatever. Look, I'm good at this, but I'm not perfect at it. I'm just learning. I'm in the hospital trying to survive.
Of course. Oh my gosh. No, I mean,
but it was.
There's no judgment there. There's just more awe and
I know.
And curiosity. Like, wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this gets cleared out. You're not coughing up any, it's almost proof that there's nothing in there because when you cough, there's no color to it. And then what's the journey here? He pulls these tubes out. What's next?
So I stay in the ICU for a little while. I get better because now the fungus is out of me. And I go to rehab. The first day I'm in rehab, because I've been on so many antibiotics and such, I get C. diff, which is an infection in your stomach. I had that 3 different times. And that was the last time that I was given the opportunity to give up. You you can't even imagine. So I go to sleep one day. My mother was there. I wake up from the nap and there I went from being in like everything's okay to like my mother was in a hazmat suit with a not with a mask, but with like the thing over her head. And so was a doctor waiting for me to wake up. And I really thought it was over at that point as well.
Wow.
And, they were like, you have C. diff. I know this is bad. You cannot see another human soul for 10 days. So no one touched me now for 10 more days. I had to go to rehab because I couldn't walk. I couldn't go up a stair. I couldn't do a push up. I couldn't do a pull up. So I had to go to rehab. So then they would have to bring someone up in a hazmat suit to my room to do the rehab with me. And, this is where I started to work on
What is that like?
my,
That's got to be
well,
really,
here's
that's
the
got to be
thing.
odd because to feel like, you're almost an alien or not even a
Oh yeah.
human species at this point. Like and so
And I
that's got to
didn't
be,
even want to be, I didn't want to be, for someone that uses exercise as a coping mechanism like I do. I didn't want to do anything. And like I thought, hey, I've been here for so long. It's going to be so nice to be like PTing. Man, it was brutal, brutal because my heart was still not under control. My heart would still be at like 120 beats a minute or 160 if I just tried to even walk a step. So then I started to work on controlling my heart rate. And this is very interesting. There's a chapter I write in my book. It's called Manual Override. So I first figured out what I knew from following Wim Hof and from just studying that, there's been various times in human history that man has broken through and had some form of control over his autonomic systems, whether that's their nervous system or their heart rate, or whether in my instance, there was two real factors I was working with. One was my immune system I had no immune system. It was literally as if I was an AIDS patient. So I meditated every day about increasing my immunity. And I will tell you, when I came home and got tested, my immunity was better than your immunity is now. So even having gone through that, um, but the real get was my heart rate. So I started to meditate on heart rate, and I could tell it was very odd, Tom. Tom, I could tell that I was lowering and raising my heart rate by myself without changing my breath pattern. I can have you change your heart rate right now if I change the way the ratio of breath to exhale, inhale to exhale. I can change that for anyone, but you can't walk around your whole life breathing out more than you breathe in. It doesn't work like that. So, I had heard about this. So, long story short, my heart rate now is about 40 beats a minute. That's my resting heart rate. And when I finally figured out how to control that, I could go from 40 beats a minute. And if you said to me, hey, Jerry, make it 100, I could make it 100 for 2 minutes, bring it down, go 40, and then I would make 90 and then 80. So I did this on an EKG machine. So we have it. And it looks like 40, 100, 40, 90. And I made a set of stairs for the guy. And he's like, how are you doing that? And I showed him, watch, I won't change my breath. I'll breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not the breath pattern. It's actually using meditation to control. And the chapter is called Manual Override. I overrode my heart rate, my immune system, and then ultimately my body temperature. But I had already figured that out in the ice barrel, how to increase my body temperature so that that's connected to breath. uh, like all these things are available. We can control our heart rate. We can control, how much immunity we have. All these things became evident to me, and I started to do them. And then that's how I made it through PT. I would lower my heart rate and then do the PT, and then it finally eventually evened out when I got home. But PT was so brutal. And for someone who like, I want brutal, I want to be in the, no, you didn't want that at all. You just, they would ring the bell. I'd be like, oh no, it's another hour and a half of this. And it was not a fun experience. I must say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, yes, we hear about this from when we read tales like Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi about, you
Yeah.
know, this ability to be buried underground for a certain amount of time, and then they pull them back up, and their doctor checks the pulse, and they're alive, and they're like, how is that even possible? And you know, so we've heard accounts of this, but then it's easy for people to write it off as, well, it's magic, or it's like an illusion trick, so to speak, or maybe the doctor was in on it and he has an instrument that they trained it to move around, so then the crowd goes, whoa. But you know, intuitively, I think a lot of us that have been involved in yoga, breath work, and meditation kind of have a sense that this is true, what you're saying. You know, we just haven't had to put it to such a test like what you went through. I guess one of my questions then is, do you think that you would have to go through that level of trauma to be able to tap into it? And or if you and I want to go through some practice sessions to try to be able to do this, like what you're saying, that we could pull it off without the trauma. What are your thoughts here? Because from my own personal experiences of going into, you know, very difficult scenarios and working meditation to overcome pain, I do believe everything you say. 100%. I've not gone through such an extensive, intensive, and I can't help but trip out a little bit on the fact that you said that like 40 days and 40 nights. I mean, this is a really classic sort of biblical reference in relation to, you know, the storyline of Jesus being tested by Satan, you know, air quote, Satan, devil, pain. You know, I don't know. I'd just love to hear your thoughts on what sort of, I mean, you already did talk a little bit about the spiritual realizations of that. You feel very attuned or very sure beyond what words can convey that we don't have to worry at the time of passing in relation to feeling loving kindness, metta, heaven, whatever word someone wanted to use. I just would love to hear more about just more. I'm just curious. What, after everything I said, what does that bring up for you? I apologize, Jerry. I can't hear you. 1 second. Hold on. I think when you were doing the oh, there you are. Cool.
Me.
Cool.
Sorry.
I saw lips but no sound. Thank you.
I was trying to get my phone was dying, so I got to get my son.
Oh, thanks, man.
You know, here's the idea of that you just hit on, like, the main, I think, objective of the book is what is the blueprint for getting these values that you're talking about, these value adds, your connection to the universe, your connection to God, being a better athlete, any of it. It's whatever you point the light at it. I think the direct answer to your question for me is absolutely not. You do not have to suffer to get the benefit. But here's the thing. If we don't have some kind of driving force, most human beings will not change unless they're uncomfortable, right? Under no circumstance.
We lost Jerry for a second, but when I was asking him the last question, I saw it blip out for a moment and then blip back in. I just heard him say he was losing battery power, so I'm just going to hang in here for a minute and keep chatting with you. It's kind of, oh, he's back. I see action. And not voice yet though, Jerry. Let's make sure we got your mic turned back on. I think it auto turns your mic.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't worry, dude. That's no problem at all. I just kept
so
chatting.
What hasn't been revealed to me is how to use Zoom so well in my
Yeah, I can control my heart, but man, I don't know how to keep my battery charged on my phone.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny because it's not one of those things that's super important to me now. You know, it's
Yeah.
So different. It's very different. But it's a great question though. Like how do we learn from other people? That's the question, right?
Well,
How do we
yeah.
assimilate
Great.
back
Yes.
from other people
Yeah.
and put it into our own practice? And I think there's just something so human about the way you're presenting the question too, because I'm very human. I have tons of faults, and I know what they are, um, and I know the answers on how not to do them, right? But it's the struggle of how to get to it. And I will say this, and I think it's a very valid point. I have never gotten anything in my life worthwhile without ridiculous amounts of hard work and a little bit at a time. Sometimes we think taking bigger bites of the apple than we are. Usually, if I take a big bite of something, I take 3 bites backwards as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think the best answer to your query is you have to want it and you have to work really hard for it. I was in a great position with my own meditation practice, with my own breath practice to like live through this. And what's the reason for it? When you say to yourself, hey, why did I live? Is it so I can go back to my job and put more money in like the man's, bank account? Or is it because you have a message, you are a messenger, and here's your message. You don't have to suffer. I'm not special. It's inside of all of us. How we choose to see it is that's going to be our own choice. I love religion. I love studying religion. I was raised Catholic, but I don't really practice anymore because I've read Buddhism, I've read, about being a Hindu, and I love a lot of the beautiful points that religion kind of puts it, sharpens its pencil and puts a point on. But I don't aspire to any one direct link to God. I can only say this. I think we're all right and nobody's wrong. It's however you choose that you're going to worship or you're going to find a better version of yourself. God bless. And if I can help you do that in any little bit of way, from being a drunk and coming back, from being a lawyer that got disbarred to having a beautiful, like, there's no more failure than I have, man, and I'm fine. So that means you're going to be fine. And,
Yeah.
when I got sick, I had some oxygen lost to my brain. So my memory wasn't working great. And they said, why don't you come we have a traumatic brain injury group that meets once a week after you come out. I said, sure. I go to the group and you see the most inspiring people that have had 5 million times worse shit happen to them than you did. And you can't feel bad for yourself at that point. I can't come home and say, hey, honey, I know you've been in the hospital for 30 surgeries, but no, we don't compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
problems are just as big to you as
Yeah.
mine were to me when I was in the
Yeah.
hospital.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that you are in your own way of your problems.
Yes.
And I'm not anymore. That's the
Wow.
truth. How do
Yeah.
we see how do you
Yeah.
want to see it now?
Yeah.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah.
So what are the ways we do that? We do that through service. I live a life of service, right? So does Yulati. I'm not thinking about me. If I'm thinking about doing something good, I'm putting money in my spiritual bank. So that's one of the things I think is important for people to know. But what are your tenets of living your life? Like if they're not service, if they're, like these are the things that need attention before you can feel what I'm talking about, I think. Um, I, I think all of us have had the experience of going to a workshop or feeling breath work from someone or seeing something on TV and being like, oh, that's a great way that Tony Robbins, for example, you know, analyzes a problem or whatever. And you try to attach that value system to yours and it just doesn't work. Um, I'm a student, Tom. I love to study. Uh, I'm self-taught really with yoga. I've had plenty of good teachers, but I've learned the most that I learned was on my own. And I'll read that stuff all day, every day. I love it. Um, I wish there was an easy answer to your question, though.
Yeah.
It would be very nice
No,
for people, wouldn't it?
I think your answer is the answer. The answer is I was going to try to pick words like it's the right answer, it's the best answer, it's a good answer. I hear what you're saying. I hear you. And I think you're right. I think, for myself and anyone that's digesting everything you said, I feel like I know intuitively what you're saying. And which I love the fact that right off the bat, you kind of opened the door with, I am no different than you. what I'm experiencing in terms of my ability currently, based off of the experience that I just went through, is that I am no different from you, because I can see where the first thing anyone might jump to right away, the mind is going to go, but he did do a lot of breath work before he had this
Mhm.
situation, or he did know how to or take challenge as a growth opportunity. So I think the way you're framing it in relation to, look, I can't convey it to you through words, but I'm just giving you a little reminder that the next time I'm in a bad situation, that I can be unbreakable.
Yeah.
If I want to find unbreakable, it's there and it's available. So maybe I think sometimes when we hear messages like what you're saying, they don't necessarily relate exactly in this precise moment. However, how do we know? And I love the fact that you came in with to it also. I didn't know why I tortured myself in an ice barrel for 45 minutes. It just wasn't even clear to me. But now after I went through that, I went, oh my gosh, that was like I was training for something that I didn't even know was coming. So, that's a fascinating thing too, because a lot of times we'll be looking at the pain that we're suffering through, whether it's a mental or emotional or physical pain that we're going through, and think like, what is the purpose of all this? I mean, why would I be,
Sure.
why would someone invent a system like this where I could be, it's so miserable. But then,
Well,
but
to
then,
your point with Yolati in particular, I always wanted to write a book. I always thought her life was so interesting, and what she's overcome is just, it's like a movie. My wife, she's literally like a movie, and she wins the marathon.
and she
You know what I
really,
mean? Like, it
she,
even has a good ending.
she really is. I
And
really want everybody who's listening to this to please go back and listen to Yulati's episode, because to hear yours and hers, I'm a little baffled, to be honest. Like my mind is going, I can't wait to see what these guys. Now this always goes future tense. Like, I can't wait to see what these guys do, because if between the two of you, it's like a dynamite explode. Like, what kind of catalyst is this going to have in the world? But I feel like that's putting it in the future. I think present tense right now. Wow.
I don't think
That's,
I don't think you're wrong though, because it's interesting. Just look at what God gave me in my life, right? I go to law school, and I become just a very, very good public speaker. Yolati isn't that. She doesn't like that. I always do the speaking for the two of us if possible. And if I was paying attention, I would have learned that lesson from Yolati, because this
mm,
woman has been presented with nothing but shit and
mm,
has chosen to be victimless. And this is how we call it. This is the process of being victimless, right? So I saw my wife be victimless for a really long time, and I helped her do it. She'd be dead without me, and I'd be dead without her. She'll tell you that. And then I still didn't listen to that, because I go into the hospital and I have to figure all these things out based
mm,
upon
mm-hmm.
what I'm really experiencing. Um, but at some point, you do go back and go, well, God made you a great speaker. God took your law license away. God, got Yolati sick. You gave her care for years, and now God got you sick. Why you after Yolati? And I'll tell you why I think it is, because this is my job. I'm here because I can write, I can speak, I can represent for this family what it means to be resilient, what it means to go ahead every single day and act in a victimless fashion, whether you're a victim or not, you know. And she's not in a position to share that as well as I am. I have been working on this my whole life and I'm the perfect foil for this, because there's no situation where I don't feel comfortable. Give me 25 kids in a high school, done it. I love it. I want to get in their ears. Give me 75 people at the old folks home. I'm going to make the last 3 years of their life better too, because that's the energy and attitude I'm going to bring into everything I ever do from now on. That's the truth. And I honestly think between her getting sick and me getting sick, I had to get sick because there was no book for me. And as soon as I got home, and as soon as there was like the word unbreakable. Every word I wrote, I just put my hands on a computer and it just
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
And I think that's, part of it. You have to take a look at your life and look at the gifts. Like, I lost my law license, but that's a gift, because here I moved to here.
Yes.
You tried all
Yeah.
those murder cases, and that was really hard, but look at the benefit you get. Now you have a way about you where you can actually draw some people into your discussion. So if you want to, you can probably look at anything that's going to happen or did happen and figure out the what, the why, and the where. But but here's my question to you. Does that matter? Does it matter? No. It doesn't matter if you've had everything given to you or nothing. It's still available. You still can get out of your own way and be more connected, feel more connected, and be more of what I say is a force of good in this world instead of what we have going on right now.
Wow. I can feel it, Jerry.
That's how I feel.
I feel your energy, man. It is awesome. Thank you
so
much. Maybe our next step is personally, just because I've gotten a chance to meet both of you. I'm inspired. You are at the point of potential close to publishing of the book that you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm actually looking for publishers right now. Yeah.
Not available to read yet. So how about as soon as it's published and I can read it, then maybe I could bring both you and Ulati on the show and just have another little powwow of conversation.
Love that.
And just help get the word out, and whatever I can do to help you promote it. And well, actually, I just can't wait to read it. But I will
tell you one thing we'll do, Tom. We want anyone that needs it, and this is something I do anyway. If like when my book comes out, if you want the book and can't afford the book, then I will send you the book, period. I don't care if that means 10,000 copies, I'll send 10,000 copies, because I really truly think what happened to me, there's a lot we can learn from it, period. And I don't want any kind of like financial burden to be a problem. I do this constantly. I'll go into you teach one of my yoga classes, and I'm a very expensive teacher. So if you want to take a private with me, it's like $300, right? And they'll say to me, I'll see someone, they need a private lesson to like get them on the right path. And I'll say, you should really take a private. And they say, oh, I can't afford a private. So yes, you can. They're free. And I'll just give it to them for free. And I've done that my whole life. And look what happened to me. I get sick. One of my students started a GoFundMe for me. Do you know they raised $40,000 from 400 different people?
Wow.
For me. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
My kids never wanted for food. That Ulati never had to worry about any of that. All these people that I don't even barely know, but I've influenced through teaching in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
40 grand is a lot of money for just, it's embarrassing almost to me. I was embarrassed is the wrong word, but you're like,
I understand.
Touched by it.
Yeah. I love that thought. The interactions that you had with people, again, you had no idea. You weren't doing it. You weren't going, I'm going to do it private because one day I'll be in real need. And this energy I'm putting forth is going to take care of my family down the road. And that's a beautiful thing. That's an amazing thing. And it obviously comes from a place of love, if you're giving from a place of love versus from an expectation of a return. Wow, Jerry. Oh my gosh. Well, I got to give thanks to John Coleman. He's been a huge supporter of us here over the years. And he introduced, first me to Ulati, now to you. And I just am real grateful for that connection. And any way I can help out, I appreciate you even being so forthcoming with like, look, I haven't even published it yet, but I'll give it away. Let's take the information and build a better, happy planet. I've
done it, Tom, already. Like if within the last 6 months, as I've been writing, if I read a chapter and I thought someone I knew 10 years ago could benefit from it, they already have it. So I'm handing it out already. Like, I don't care. Yeah, that's just the way you feel. I feel so blessed to be alive. It's amazing. Yeah. We'll definitely come back and show you the book. Right. We would be so proud. That'd be amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to continue to watch your journey, and thank you for being so honest and sharing all of your stories with us today. And we all look forward to getting a copy when it comes out.
Appreciate it.
Awesome, Jerry.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a great day.
Yeah, man. You too.
Thanks.
Thank you. Native Yoga Toddcast is produced by myself. The theme music is dreamed up by Bryce Allen. If you like this show, let me know. If there's room for improvement, I want to hear that too. We are curious to know what you think and what you want more of. what I can improve. And if you have ideas for future guests or topics, please send us your thoughts to info@Native Yoga Center. You can find us at nativeyogacenter.com. And hey, if you did like this episode, share it with your friends, rate it and review, and join us next time.